I see, or we see many familiar faces, and many of you know that we started this film festival 5 years ago, not just to bring stories from other sides of the world to the Bay Area community, but also to provide a platform where all like-minded community members could come together and just talk about issues and bring ideas and interests together. And we want to thank you all for being here. Many of you also know that we are a local Bay Area nonprofit organization who's been involved with many different communities in the Bay Area in the past. We've been around for 10 years. And when the earthquake happened in 2015, we were given the opportunity or the responsibility to extend our help to the affected communities in Nepal. And with all of your help and like the larger Bay Area family, we were able to raise over $250,000 US. We were able to mobilize that money in short-term and mid-term relief by providing tents, zinc roofs, like food supplies, emergency supplies. Some of our board members were also able to go to Nepal to just be on the ground and make sure the projects were happening. And fast forward now, we've been able to successfully build one school in a village called Kading. And as you saw in the video, we're now in almost towards the end of building a school in Makwanpur, and this is going to be our second school. And by far, this has been the most challenging project that we all have worked on, and that video, just very accurately depicts all the challenges that we've had to face working in this project. But regardless, we're glad that despite of all the challenges, we've reached to a stage where we can say now that we're going to build this school or finish building this school. There was a lot of learnings. It was a big learning opportunity for us, but also we were inspired by what we saw on the ground, and we're very grateful for the community partnership in the village itself. Besides this project, we've also had the opportunity to partner with an organization called Teach for Nepal. They are an organization based in Nepal, and what they do is they train fellows or students who have graduated from college. They train them to go in the villages and then teach students in a way that they can understand. And these students, once they finish their training, or these fellows, once they finish their training, they go in the village schools and work for 2 years to educating the children. And they've been able to build a very successful model for the past couple of years, and we're grateful to be partnering with them. We've sponsored 2 fellows, and they are now working in an earthquake-affected school in Sindhupalchok district. And we would not have been able to do what we're doing right now without all of your support. So thank you very, very much. And we're glad that we also get this event as a platform for us to share what's happening with Sahayata.org. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of our volunteers without whom this event would not have been possible. Anil, Mancha, Surya, Praveen, Shilpa, Anuj, Ringo, Hiromi, and the list just goes on. Like Sahayata.org is just not 8 or 9 of the board members. It's larger than just us. We also want to thank our sponsors, Rob Sanders, who's in the audience today, and Arsa Consulting. Thank you so much, Rob. You've always been such a good support for us, and you've been doing wonderful work through AMA Foundation in Nepal. So thank you for all of that. And we also want to thank CAM, Center for Asian American Media, for being our co-organizer, co-sponsor. Without CAM, again, we would not have had this platform to organize a film festival like this. And today, I want to invite Mashashi he's the festival director for CAM. So if you could just come to the stage and just say a few words.
Okay. Do you mind if I stand on
Sure.
the stage? Okay. Whoa, actually, what I'm doing. Okay.
Now you know why we got you.
All right, hi everyone. I want to welcome you all here on this beautiful Saturday night at the 9th Street Independent Film Center. My name is Masashi. I am the Festival and Exhibitions Director at CAM, the Center for Asian American Media. Just a raise of hands if anyone's heard of CAM or Center for Asian American Media. Okay, good. Oh, good. You're going to make my life a lot easier. I'll give you the condensed version. CAM has been around for 36 years. We are the nation's largest media arts organization that showcases and celebrates Asian American stories to the broadest audience possible. If you are a filmmaker, we have many ways to support you. We fund and produce short form and feature-length documentaries. We also have filmmaker fellowships, and we have our festival, which is called CAMFest. And in 2018, we are actually moving our festival from March to May, so you're one of the first people to hear about this, to align with Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So yeah, so it's going to be really fun. In the next few months, we will be announcing a lot about the program changes and the big move to May. So if you don't already, follow us on all the fun social networks, Facebook, Twitter, or go to our website, cammedia.org. While I'm talking about film festivals, I do want to thank the amazing board, staff, and volunteers who organize this really amazing event. Can we give them all such a big round of applause? Being here in 2017, putting together a film fest in the Bay Area is a lot of work. And it's very expensive to do. It takes a lot of passion and hard work. And not only are you competing with the beautiful weather, with other events happening here in the Bay Area, but as we all can imagine, all the ways we can consume media at home, through our mobile devices, our phones, our TVs, the fact that you are all here together as a community to celebrate these stories, and for you all to organize this. I just want to thank everyone in this room for making tonight happen. And that's all I have. I hope you all enjoy the program, and thank you again for giving me this platform.
Thank you so much, Masashi. And last but not the least, we cannot finish our gratitude program without thanking Sapna Shakir, and she is here in the audience. Without Sapna, truly we would not have been here today. She has been our guide and mentor for the past 5 years. She used to be with CAM, and she also is very heavily involved with organizing Kathmandu International Mountain Film Festival. So thank you so much, Sapna, and thank you for coming here today. And I actually would like to invite you to stage to just say a few words to our audience tonight.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I've been gone for a few years. I was living in Nepal. But I remember when the festival first started about 5 years ago. And it was such a great opportunity to spotlight communities that we normally don't hear from, even in the South Asian context. So, and I know it's a lot of hard work, and you have to spend a little money and gather people. The diaspora from the Himalayas is growing. But we don't see a lot of ourselves represented in the media still. So this is a really lovely opportunity. Thank you guys for carrying this on. I hope you enjoy this film. It's a really lovely film, and I think the filmmaker will be with us.
Crossing our
Virtually.
fingers to the technology gods.
Thank you. Thank you guys. That's all.
And lastly, and when I say lastly this time, I really mean lastly, is if you enjoy the food was from Red Chili. They're based in O'Farrell Street in San Francisco, so you can find them online too. And now, without further ado, I want to invite Nisha Thapa, my friend and partner in crime in organizing this event, to just to come and introduce the movie or tell us a little bit about the movie before we get started.
Trying to separate, intersex versus the third gender. Do you have a sense of whether Nepal is, really working towards including same-sex and marriage, but also the rights to property for women, some of the other rights to adopt children as a third gender or, as a gay couple or a lesbian couple?
I think having people like Bhumika in politics is really crucial to, making that happen, and she's been very active. She is actively in the Nepali Congress Party. Actually, she was nominated to be taking kind of a bigger role in a smaller party that is a sister party of the Nepali Congress Party. So I think that's the best way, and also educating people, people, meaning the public in Nepal, because a lot of people have no idea that this happened in this kind of window of the transitional phase in Nepal. And even people here in the community, I feel like, are not really aware, like, really, Nepal has gay rights, or had gay rights, or is involved in any sense. So I think a lot of it's also just, educating people about the whole process.
Well, on that note, it seemed like it was really documenting the whole sort of process of getting to the point and how the gender were really trying to implement it and make sure that holding the government accountable for implementing what was passed as law. In filming this, I was curious, how did you find it ended rather suddenly, so it was hard to tell whether they were successful in getting, continuing the implementation of that. I saw one of them had the card, but is it an ongoing practice now? I know the Constitution is constantly being reworked.
So it was very much in the process, and you saw one of the characters, Bishnu, who was the first person to acquire a third gender citizenship card. Now, Bhumika at that time still didn't have hers. Since then, she has a passport that has the third gender identification on it. So she is technically the first person in Nepal who traveled on a third gender passport. So it was very much a process and really documenting what was happening at the time. We didn't know if all of those things would still hold true once the Constitution was written. So, it was this transitional phase where Nepal was really going and exploring a lot of different things. I mean, again, that social impetus for change, I think, after being in 250 years of monarchy. Nepal was extremely oppressed. I mean, just in the 1950s, talking about education and the efforts that Nisha is doing in rebuilding a school, I mean, a very, very tiny percentage of people, and if you look at women, less than 5% of women were literate in Nepal in during the 1950s. So, there was a certain kind of oppression, I think, and maybe from the outside, a vision of, this very exotic land with, monarchs and everything is wonderful. But I think really looking at the greater population, that was a time when there was a lot of change, and it's still unfolding. There's still, a lot going on in Nepal. It's still in the process of change.
Well, a follow-up question to that is, you filmed a lot of different characters in the film. It was nice to see some familiar faces like Rita Thapa and Sunil Pant and Badri. I was wondering, how did you get permission, or were any of them sort of there was filming inside the offices, during these discussions? Like, how difficult and challenging was it to access these discussions and communication?
Pretty challenging. Basically, we were kicked out after a while, and the discussion started becoming more serious, and they started realizing that, hey, we may be saying things that we shouldn't be saying. So we were definitely asked to put the cameras away in the home ministry. What other situations? Well, on the streets of Tamil, for example, we spent about 1 week at night, and we started shooting probably around midnight and would stay until 4 a.m. So we'd go out there at about 10 p.m. and just start setting up and trying to figure out who's here tonight and who we can, talk to. And we actually got pushback both from the police, but also the sex working community. So the sex workers were afraid that we were going to jeopardize their whole setup there, right? So they were pretty upset at one point, like threatening to smash our cameras and, just telling us to get out of here, because there did seem to be somewhat of a divide between the Blue Diamond Society, who was being funded by foreign sources, and the actual people who were living there and trying to make a living without the support of BDS. Right, so there was that, and then of course the police as well. Eventually, they figured out that who are these people who are just out here filming every night, and we're not able to potentially do our job, so-called, as they were handling the situation, which was often with a lot of harassment and terror and bribes.
Half American.
Yes.
Do you speak fluent Nepali so you could actually communicate with some of the third genders and get their permission and most importantly, win their trust to make this film and film them?
Yes, when I'm in Nepal, I speak about 98% Nepali, and here I change between Nepali and English, obviously, within the Nepali community, but there I speak Nepali. A lot of people are very shocked because they're like, wow, you speak like you're Nepali. And I'm like, actually, I am. So, yeah, that was very important. And, in a documentary, people don't realize that, there is a kind of auditioning that you do with characters, right? So even among the third gender community, I must have interviewed, close to 50 people through the BDS, and, and met and interviewed, and in a sense, it was, very clear who is that character, who can carry a story, who's charming and charismatic in a sense, and also who's able to give you access. Like Bhumika took me to her home, shared her family. When we said, all right, let's, they wanted to do this trip to go to Muktinath, which in Nepal, spirituality is really, in a sense, a part of everyday life, right? So that was a big trip, and her mother was going to come with us. And in a sense, the support that Bhumika had from her mother, I observed later, was really what helped her in all of her achievements and all of her work.
So the film that we're going to be showing, it's called Buskalogni. It's a really wonderful film about a woman's devotion to her husband.
And all the men are watching now.
And her love for this guy. And love for the children, and a true dedication to what a woman behind the doors in the Nepali community is. And then the story sort of takes it in another direction. So I don't want to give you the story away, but it really touched my heart. There are a lot of lessons we can learn, because I think as an NGO, as sort of a white person looking at Nepal, they look at why development takes so long. But I think it's the nuances of these family contexts that it's so challenging that really breaks families. So you'll really enjoy the film. It's done really beautifully. It also has other potential impacts. We can talk about it after Q&A. So thank you. Enjoy the film. And then she would keep having urinary problems. And then I was like, Ama, uta kitiko doctor koma janus na, unale check garcha. And she wouldn't allow me to touch her private area at all. So later on, after 2 years of me trying to figure out what's wrong with her, she was literally walking like this. Literally. Because, she'd given birth to maybe 10, 12, 13 babies. Some died, some were stillbirths, So it's so common, especially in the elderly, even in the younger people in the villages, and even here, So people don't talk about it because of the taboo around it. So it's just really common to see this, especially in a lot of refugee patients too. So, with all of you, and I was really inspired by this film. We didn't actually have the DVD till 4 days back. We had the film, but the film didn't work, so I was just trying to crash and figure out how do I get the DVD. Finally, 4 days ago, we got the film. So the film is it's fascinating. It's actually one of the probably best Nepali films I've watched. This filmmaker and the cinematographer, they've done such a beautiful work in depicting stories that you wouldn't otherwise hear. So the story is based on a North sort of the northwest region of Nepal, and a lot of the tourists go to, the other side, the sexy side of Nepal. And this side really doesn't get much reflected in the media. So you'll see stories of two young boys through a hen, and I don't want to give away the story, but it's based around civil war, mouse insurgency. So enjoy the film, and I'm hoping that Min Bahadur Bam, who's the director, will be here Skyping with the cast members. So let's just cross our fingers that we'll be able to connect with them. So enjoy.
That I felt when I was a kid in the village. So from that moment I was